What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Oe. I got my co-host Dustin again with me today, and we're going to be talking about and reviewing the series premiere of The Last of Us on HBO Max, which is an adaptation, a live adaptation of the video game on the PlayStation platform, a video game that I played. I played the first one, haven't played the second one, but I do love the first one. Dustin, you don't have a PlayStation and you've never played The Last of Us, correct?
Yeah, I didn't. No, I had a PlayStation a long time ago. I just never played The Last of Us.
Okay.
So
So,
I'm watching this show just as a viewer. No history whatsoever.
okay. So, all right. So that's a good perspective to have. So, yeah, being a fan of the video game, I'm not a hardcore fan, but I did play the video game once. And this show, the series premiere, episode one, made me want to play the video game again because I know it's only the first episode, but this has to be by far, I mean, dare I say, the best video game live action adaptation made, which is surprising to say because there are a lot of changes visually that they made to the show. Like if you look at the characters and how they look in the video game compared
Mm.
to the live action show, you'll notice there's some race swapping here and there. But honestly, as long as they kept the characters true to themselves and what they're like in the video game, which I think they pretty much nailed most of the characters. So, what are your initial thoughts of this first episode, Dustin? What you think of it?
Okay, 30 minutes was exciting. I'll get with you that we know. Okay, first of all, yeah, it caught me with the whole flashback back in 1968 with his whole thing with the fungi. It was so coincidental because I was just watching something a Joe Rogan video with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Neil deGrasse Tyson about like mushrooms being live and all that stuff. And now here's this thing on the show about fungi. I was like, so I was captivated by that. That was an awesome theory.
Yeah. Let me just add one thing to that. I love the actor who was playing that role.
Yeah,
I think his name is John Hannah.
yeah.
He plays Jonathan in The Mummy, and
Mm-hmm.
he's also Batiatus in the Spartacus series. But I
Yeah,
love that intro in the video game where they're talking about fungi and how could that could be
yeah,
the end of mankind's civilization.
yeah.
So
I
I did
really
love
love
that
that.
beginning.
That was so cool. And then yeah, it starts out in 2003 Texas, goes through all that stuff, and I think the part in 2003 Texas that was the exciting part of the show when all the
Yes,
zombies started going up. It had that feeling of what was that one zombie movie?
it felt reminiscent of Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead 2004.
Yeah, Dawn of the
That
Dead.
whole opening, that's why I love it. I love
Yes,
that
Dawn of the Dead
opening.
was a really cool movie. It had that feeling. The zombies were running all fast at you and everything like that. It felt cool.
Yeah, you'll find out. I don't want to give too much away because you haven't played the game, so
Mm,
you're going to this with fresh eyes. But
yeah.
yeah, they're sort of zombies, but as you could tell as they revealed in the episode, they kind of morph into something else. I always love the beginning of like the zombie apocalypse, the
Hmm.
initial chaos.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that sense of dread and panic. Once the shit hits the fan, which it does in this series opener, and it starts off just like the video game, man, because we you control Sarah in the first video game. So
Hmm.
knowing this, going into the episode, knowing what was going to happen,
Hmm.
I enjoyed having a more fleshed out Sarah. Like we got to see more of her perspective in that day with Joel, which Pedro
Okay.
Pascal. The overall feeling of Joel, I think Pedro Pascal's about to nail it. So yeah,
Okay.
I love the whole beginning, seeing the chaos and everything, getting a more fleshed out version of Sarah. I liked all that. But
And then we drop 12 years later into the future, which makes it 2015. Dawn
let's
of
go
the
back.
Dead.
Let's go back to the ending of that beginning with Sarah
Sarah
getting
dying? She
Sarah
died.
dying.
What do we have to talk about? She died.
That's a
I
I mean, you're a heartless bastard if you didn't feel
I
anything
mean,
at that
honestly,
scene.
well, okay, okay, I did like the character Sarah, but again, if it's an adaptation, I'm guessing Sarah doesn't make it in the video game as well either.
It happens exactly like
Okay,
that.
so she
Like
died.
that whole sequence
That's
with
like,
the chaos with Tommy the brother,
yeah.
it's just like that when you play the video game.
Okay, so she died. Okay, so 12 years later, it's now
All right, moving
2015.
on.
We're
R.I.P.
moving on.
Sarah.
That she died. She died. So 2015, it's now the QZ zone. It's in Boston and all that stuff. Again, pretty typical zombie setting, zombies take over. Zombies for now, according to you. They take over the whole world. Big cities like Boston are in chaos and ruins. They have a QZ zone. I gotta say, it's pretty generic for a thing. It's nothing that we haven't seen any before as far as zombie type movies. It's the same spiel. So I don't know. It looks exciting. The first 30 minutes were exciting, then it slowed down. Um, I did not fall asleep at this one though, even though it kind of slowed down a lot. And so far, it feels like a show that's adapted from a game. It just kind of moves along just like you would a game.
No,
Um,
I disagree with you. I think if I came from your lenses,
mhm.
I would have no idea that this show is based on a video game at all. The way it flows, it feels like a really dark, bleak, typical, like you said, it kind of has a generic tone when it comes to like
Mhm.
apocalypse and post-apocalyptic situations. From all the things that we've seen already, like The Walking Dead, which had
Mhm.
like what 10 seasons, it
Yeah.
could feel sort of similar because it is sort of a bleak, nihilistic story in a post-apocalyptic setting.
But I love Pedro Pascal, so that's a shining star for me. I've always loved him. I loved him in Narcos. He was awesome. So he's really really good, a great actor in my eyes. So
Yeah,
hopefully he can carry this thing along and make it more than just an adaptation.
yeah. Well, the core of the story, which is I'm hoping they focus on, is the story and the journey of Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, who I think he's doing a phenomenal job so far, and Ellie, which is Bella Ramsey. She's introduced kind of midway through the episode. This is a Game of Thrones reunion, by the way. You got Pedro Pascal, who's Oberyn Martell, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have Bella Ramsey, who's playing Ellie, and she's Lyanna Mormont. She's
Mm-hmm.
the lady of Bear Island in the later seasons of Game of Thrones. So you have two Game of Thrones alumni.
Everybody was in Game of Thrones though.
Yeah, but these were
I was
these were
like,
two pretty cool characters, especially
yeah.
Pedro Pascal, aka the Red Viper. But some of the scenes in this series play exactly like the game, which I like at the same time because they're being faithful compared to other trash shows out there that don't like that. The Halo TV show was an abomination. Several like
Mm.
Resident Evil shows that were
Yeah,
on
the
the
Resident Evil
interweb.
show sucked.
Yeah, it was complete trash and
Yeah.
not loyal at all. So I hope they just focus on Ellie and Joel. I don't want to see any side characters have more plot lines. Like they got to keep the focus on Joel and Ellie. If they deviate from that and we get more side characters introduced and we have to focus on them, I might check out because, like you said, we've seen this type of shit before, especially for me. I've watched
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 seasons of The Walking Dead. So yeah, when it comes to post-apocalyptic, nihilistic, bleak shows.
Yeah.
This is a pretty bleak story, so I don't know how much more of that I could
If
take.
if you I think the line here between successful and probably just generic and bleak, what you said, is if you as a Last of Us faithful fan are upset about the direction of the show, how the show is going, and me who's never played the game is probably loving the show and probably loving the changes. I think they're going more for a better written show than maybe what the game is going. Because if they, again, every adaptation that I've seen, movies or shows that have stayed true to the game and have made references to gameplay, the game storyline, has not been good. I've already gave you examples like
Yeah,
Hitman,
but those
Assassin's
were
Creed.
not
You
faithful.
said Halo.
Hitman,
Hitman
Assassin's
was
Creed,
Assassin's Creed stayed faithful
but
to a lot of the things. Hitman stayed a lot to even that hit that little move in the show. So
those are just little things that they paid homage to.
yeah, they
It's
played
staying
homage to
faithful
it.
to the story, like Altair's
Well, there's
story.
there's always like stories in between it though.
But you've
So
never played The Last of Us,
yeah,
so
I
you don't
know.
get that. I
Okay,
literally
I'll
when
give you an
I'm
example.
telling
I'll give
you,
you an example. If they, Sarah was an awesome character, so I was like, oh man, this daughter's awesome. So if this is about survival, she's going to be like a main character of survival. Then they killed her off, right? Because that's part of the gameplay storyline. If I would have kept her, if we were going for a good show, I would have kept. She was a strong character
but
starting
that's
off.
the whole
She's
point.
awesome.
That's the whole point of Joel's story arc. If you stay with the show, you'll find
Yeah,
out. Like
I
this,
guess. I
this is
guess
the first episode, and the second half of this episode was a little slower. I
really
texted you
slow.
saying how much I loved the episode, but I thought the episode was done after Sarah died. So when it kept
Mm.
going, I was like, oh, we're jumping into it already. I would have liked to maybe, like you said, maybe if they deviated just a little bit from the source material and we got to see more of the beginning of the apocalypse, because that's what I like most.
Okay.
Like,
Did you know who Ellie was?
yes, yeah,
Did you
like
know who did you know who
Tess.
Marlene was?
I knew who Marlene. She's a real character in
Did
the
you know
game.
who well who was
Tess is the
Joel
woman, Joel's
Tess?
friend.
So
She's in
you
the
already
game
knew
as well.
them,
She
right?
plays a big. So all these big characters so far
Yeah.
that you know the names of,
Mm.
they've been in the game,
Okay,
and
so
they've
that's my
been.
problem is that you kind of have to do you have to know the game to really understand the background of these
No,
characters?
no, because the show's doing a pretty decent job at, explaining what's happening to the audience in this live action series.
Not really. I mean,
Well,
I sat there.
that's why you're gonna have to stick
No,
around.
I mean, I'm sitting there going, okay,
It's
so
the
who is
first
this?
episode. What
It's
do
the
you
first
expect?
episode, but I mean, most first episodes kind of give you a little bit of a. They don't introduce this many characters that quickly,
Oh,
especially ones that
come
are main
on. Game
characters.
of Thrones episode 1, you're introduced to like 2 dozen.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones was just. I mean, that's just the writing was great on that one, though. I mean,
The
you can't.
writing, I mean, the writing isn't bad here. I mean,
You know,
I don't know
House
what
of
you could
Dragons.
complain
The
about.
writing is great on that one.
Well, yeah, Game of Thrones, I mean, that's my favorite thing ever, but
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
it's
I think you're just trying to find because you don't have a connection with the game,
exactly. I don't have a connection with the game, so
but
how do
you're
these
comparing the
people?
game to the show. So you should just not even care about the game from your perspective. You should have
Because
zero
I'm seeing
cares.
characteristics of a another show slash movie trying to adapt and making sure that the game faithful are happy. So I just want to see that because you know you already said that if they don't stay true to the game, you're going to be upset, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, I
but would
mean,
you be
as long as
upset if the
they,
game if the show did not kind of went off into a little curve and it made the show better, but it didn't stay true to the game?
I'm fine with
Would you be
that.
happy with that?
Yes, 100%. But as long as they stay faithful to the core of these characters, that's all I ask. But I do appreciate this first episode because I mean, there's a lot of things. As long as there's a lot of key moments that happen as you play the video game, and as long as they keep those key moments in it, I'm okay. They could change it. There's some things I wish they do change, and I hope they do change. I don't want to spoil anything. As long as the very big moments, like the really memorable moments that happen in the video game, they capture in the live action series, even if they do it in their more unique, original take, I'm cool with that. But
But yeah, so far it's been pretty. I would say, eh, that's my thing with it.
you know what? I kind of feel you on that. Like, even though we've been kind of disagreeing, I kind of feel you in that just because I'm kind of numb to post-apocalyptic shows, especially when it's
Mm.
so dark and bleak. But hopefully, the story and the writing, especially these characters, are enough to captivate these new audiences like yourself to be like, oh, I really want to find out what happens because it's really about the characters. It's about the relationship and the bond between Joel and Ellie and the crazy shit that they get with along the way. But yeah, I don't know if I can give a rating on this. I mean, episode 1, I'd give it. I almost want to give it. I'll give it a 3.5 just because you know yeah, I was feeling a little checked out in that second half because it was a little
Mm.
slower after that bombastic, awesome, amazing opening. I'd
Mm.
give the episode 1 a very enthusiastic 3.5. I wish I could give it a 4 at least, but I was getting a little bored because, like you said, it started to feel a little generic with
Yeah,
the post-apocalyptic time jump. But yeah,
yeah, I will give it. I don't want to be too mean, but honestly, if I'd go 2.5. I'd go
Ooh.
2.5 only because I remember you hyped it up for me and you said, you got to watch this. It's going to be great. This is the next big thing. But then I'm thinking, it's not the next big thing. It's the only thing going on right now. There's nothing going on. So it's more, and then being it's the only thing going on right now, it was kind of generic, like we said. I don't know. I gotta go 2.5 on that
Oh, that's
for
rough.
now. For
See,
now,
okay, okay.
hopefully it goes up.
That 30 minutes alone, though, for me, the opening scene with Sarah when we're in Sarah's shoes, that's almost like a 4.5 for me because it did feel similar. It was really similar to the game, and I just love the opening moments of like an apocalypse. I love seeing the chaos form, and I wish they would have spent a little bit more time before the big 20-year time jump, but. All right. That's our thoughts on episode 1, the series premiere of The Last of Us. I'm sticking around. I'm interested. I'm interested to see, how faithful they could be to the show while having its own identity. Because so far, I feel like it's both. It's faithful and it also has its own identity. We'll see if it has enough to capture, people like Dustin's attention, and hopefully, it's not too generic. And it doesn't feel too generic to where to the point where it's like, you know what, you could watch the show or you could live the show, just play the video game, because that's what I want to do. I want to play the video game right now. So, all right, Dustin, you want to say anything before we get out of here?
Yeah. Would you rather watch a show or play the video game?
I'll play the video game.
Okay, then. Well, that says everything about the show right there.
Not really, because I like the show too so far, but that video game, you need to play it, man. It's a damn good video game.
Okay.
So, all right, guys, that's our video. That's our video on The Last of Us episode 1. Post down in the comment section below what you thought of the season premiere. What would you rate it? I want to thank Dustin for joining me once again. So if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Ring that notification bell. We'll see you all next time. See you.